A man opens the door and enters the police station. He only glances at the police officers. The man continues to control others with his gaze, causing them to start killing each other. Soon, reinforcements arrive at the police station. But the bullets have no effect on him. After a round of gunfire from the police officers, the man's true form is revealed. He turns out to be a demon. He then controls the police officers to start killing each other. And that's the horror movie we're going to talk about today. Satanic Hispanics. The story begins in a house in El Paso. Where the police break into the house, they discover that it's filled with dead bodies. As they investigate further, the man sitting in a chair suddenly raises his hand. The police officers instinctively raise their guns and shoot. Only then do they notice that a chain is controlling his hand. They break into the room, and seeing the police entering, he picks up a kitchen knife next to him. He chops off his own hand. In total, 27 people died in this house, all shot in the head. The only survivor is a man named Garcia. Officer Aiden enters the interrogation room. Garcia has calmed down by now. He claims to be a South American who illegally crossed the border through the Coyote Gang. He explains that all the dead people in the house were illegal immigrants. According to Garcia, they were all killed in gang-related conflicts. He also says that if he can't leave within an hour and a half, everyone in the room will die. Of course, Aiden doesn't believe him. He takes out a list of victims and asks him to identify them. Garcia points to one of the photos and claims to have seen the ghost of that person. He reveals that he knew a man named Gustavo. Gustavo had the ability to see creatures from another world. Gustavo accidentally discovered that he could make people see creatures from another world by using light and a set of movements. He demonstrates it to the delivery man, but the delivery man just thinks he's crazy. Gustavo is skilled at solving Rubik's cubes. He lives in his grandmother's old house, but his condition has been affected by this incident. He can't even participate in competitions. Because of this, he contacts a paranormal blogger from a blog. Gustavo wants him to help investigate the situation. Gustavo demonstrates his technique, but after the blogger examines his house, the blogger suddenly leaves in a hurry. Afterward, Gustavo tries to contact him but receives no reply. He decides to leave the house. He goes to Japan to participate in a competition. While he is writing a reply to his sister, he suddenly smells a strange odor. Gustavo looks down. He is scared out of his wits and his fingers are injured as a result. Gustavo endures the pain and sets his finger back in place. Then he secretly observes, and Gustavo finds that the creature is still there. He goes to the kitchen and picks up a kitchen knife. Approaching it slowly, he finds it lying motionless on the ground. So, Gustavo takes out his phone and takes several pictures. He sends the pictures to his sister. Someone knocks on his door. It's the same blogger from before. Without saying a word, the blogger enters the house. He goes to the second floor corridor. He explains that when Gustavo performed those movements before, he saw his own mother here. Even though she had passed away a long time ago, the blogger believes that the set of movements inadvertently mastered by Gustavo can open a passage between the underworld and the living world. Gustavo returns to his room. He shows the creature lying on the ground to the blogger. The blogger picks up an umbrella. He lifts a corner of the blanket. He crouches down and starts crying in pain while holding the creature. It turns out that this woman is the blogger's mother. Gustavo senses something is not right, because what he saw earlier wasn't this creature. So, he endures the intense pain and starts performing a ritual. He attempts to send the creature back. Then something horrifying happened. Not only the creature was taken away, but also the blogger. Gustavo was deeply shocked. He slowly exits the room. His sister calls him on the phone. She asks him about the pictures. Gustavo says, the pictures show their father who was crushed by a train. But his sister says, the pictures show him lying under the table with blood all over his head. Gustavo looks inside the house, and sees a man who looks exactly like him, slowly approaching him. With a flash, the scene changes, and everything goes back to the beginning. Gustavo has a sinister smile on his face. He demonstrates the movements to the delivery man. Although this story is fascinating, Aiden can't help but feel that he is lying. Suddenly, the door opens. A police officer tells Aiden that based on Garcia's photos, they have matched several identities. These individuals have an age difference of over 10 years. What's even more outrageous is that, according to records, this man had already died in a car accident back in 1997. Aiden and the female police officer return to the interrogation room. They question Garcia about his true identity. Garcia says he did experience a car accident, but he is an immortal being. To prove his point, Garcia shows them his intact palm. His real name is Matralihat, and he was born in the Aztec Empire 542 years ago. He also claims that he knows about an unsolved case in the police station. That case is famous for its victims' blood being drained. He knows who the killer is. His last crime was on Halloween night, where everyone in the store met a tragic fate. A man uses the fresh blood squeezed from the deceased's wrist as a fine wine. The only survivor is a woman. She crouches down, preparing to crawl out stealthily. On her way, the noise she makes attracts the vampire's attention, but as she runs out of the house, the vampire suddenly hypnotizes her.
Under my throne, my word is your command.
Just then, a dog's bark breaks the silence. The man walking the dog assumes it's just part of Halloween role-playing. The vampire drains the woman's blood completely. It receives a phone call. The caller is its relative, Mary. Mary reminds it that it's daylight saving time now, and it will be dawn in 15 minutes. Since the vampire doesn't know how to drive, and it has forgotten how to transform, it tries to command Mary to pick it up. Its words make Mary angry and she hangs up the phone directly. Unable to find a solution, the vampire attempts to transform into a bat. However, it couldn't succeed no matter what it tried. So, it snatches away the lazy commuter car from the passers-by, while enjoying the breeze with its hands off the handlebars. Suddenly, it gets hit by eggs thrown by children on the roadside. The vampire gets angry and chases them until it reaches a dead end. A boy recognizes its identity. He picks up a nearby wooden stake and mercilessly stabs it into the vampire's heart.
The heart is on the left, mijo.
And so, the vampire completes its slaughter. Two police officers discover everything. They rush over to inquire about the situation. The atmosphere becomes tense. However, they believe it's all just a Halloween prank. One of the officers even poses for a photo with it, thinking the blood on its hands is made of syrup. The officer takes a gentle sip before and realizes something is strange. The vampire quickly hypnotizes one of the officers. However, it can only control one person at a time, which makes it a bit out of control. It can only run for its life. It runs into a corner without anyone around and pulls out the wooden stake. The police quickly search the area. It can only hide inside a nearby building. Unfortunately, it turns out to be a church. It runs outside, engulfed in flames. The police chase it relentlessly, with no other choice. It can only call Mary, pleading for Mary's help. Surrounded by the police, Mary finally arrives and takes it away. However, halfway through their escape in the car, they encounter a traffic jam, with no other option. The two of them have to abandon the car and flee. As they see the sunrise approaching, they quickly hide into a garbage bin, but the sunlight still seeps through the cracks, and the two of them cannot escape their fate. At the final moment of their lives, they let go of their grudges, becoming a true ghost couple. The next day, a man comes out to throw away the trash, and he sees the two corpses. He thinks they are Halloween toys. At this point in the story, the female police officer takes out a talisman from Garcia's body. One of the bottles catches their attention. It appears to contain blood. Garcia explains that he obtained it from a shaman in Mexico, in a mystical place on a farm in Mexico. A man walks nervously on the road, leading a horse. Strange screeching sounds come from behind him. The man stops and instinctively reaches for the knife on the horse's back, but when he looks back, he sees nothing. He leads the horse back to his dwelling, pulls the body off the horse's back, and drags it into the house, just a short distance away. Someone glares at him with malice. Later on, he cleans his blood-stained hands, and retrieves a gun. He stares intently at the door. Sleepiness engulfs him gradually. Suddenly, his phone rings. On the other end is an American agent. It turns out the man's name is Ramon. Ramon, whose family was brutally gunned down, chooses to cooperate with the CIA to overthrow the local political leader. Ramon's condition is to be safely evacuated from Mexico. However, the person coming to pick him up can only arrive tomorrow at 6 a.m. Ramon thought this place was safe, but as he turns around, A man appears outside the window. He goes out to investigate. Unaware of the beastly growl behind him, Ramon covers his ears and walks outside. But there is no one around. Just as he relaxes his guard, the man reappears. Several burly men rush out and knock him unconscious. Ramon's consciousness fades gradually. When he wakes up, he finds himself bound. Those men are covered with mud, surrounding him. A female priestess holding leaves approaches. They are the ancient Navajo tribe. They believe in the Mother Earth. Ramon once sought their help for revenge. But he did not receive assistance. He killed the Navajo people with anger. Ramon attempted to gain power from their blood, to curse his enemies. The priestess chants loudly. Mysterious powers from the Mother Earth manifest in her, in an ancient and mystical ritual. Ramon pays the price with his blood. Inside his house, countless cursed props for witchcraft are displayed. He attempts to curse his enemies. At the cost of Navajo lives, the priestesses sing mournful chants, mourning their fallen tribe members. Of course, Aiden and the others won't believe Garcia's words. The female police officer picks up a bullet and asks what it is. Garcia tells her that it is a holy bullet. It can eliminate all saints or sinners, but the matching gun has been lost for a long time. Long ago, he made a deal with the god of death. He traded his life for the lives of his wife and son, but at the last moment, he regretted out of fear. So the god of death will relentlessly hunt him. The female police officer gets a headache when she listens to his words. While she goes to take her medication, she accidentally finds the gun. She shows Garcia a photo of the gun. This is exactly the one that matches the bullet. Of course, the gun won't be given to him. Annoyed, Garcia tells a story of an unlucky man. Malcolm meets his ex-girlfriend at a restaurant. They haven't been in contact for a long time since their breakup. Not only that, their friends passed away one after another during this time. It's because they peeped at a mysterious ritual in Havana, and recorded it. As a result, they are being hunted by demons. Malcolm tries to destroy the recording file. But no matter what he does, he can't succeed. He believes that the demons want the recording to be spread, causing chaos in the world. The man talks about the deaths of his friends, unaware that his girlfriend in front of him is actually the demon in disguise. Its true identity is the Zombie King. In Zambi,
That's just it. I don't think you are. I think you're tricking me into believing her, Amy.
as soon as it is recognized, the demon no longer pretends. Just when the two of them maintain a facade of peace, suddenly a gunshot rings out.
Tell me you're stupid.
Malcolm held the gun in both hands and shot through the demon. But it was useless against the Zombie King. It forced Malcolm to reveal the whereabouts of the recording. Seeing that Malcolm wouldn't talk, the two engage in a fight in the restaurant. The demon reveals its true form. It pushes Malcolm to the ground. In the process, the cassette tape falls out. The demon picks up the tape and becomes extremely happy. Because with the tape, it can summon an army from hell to the mortal world. But when it plays the tape, it turns out to be a rock song. As it turns around, the demon is knocked down to the ground. Ordinary weapons cannot harm it. But Malcolm is holding Hammer of Zanzibar. A week ago, he and his friend Jack went to a museum, attempting to get a weapon from a man named Mark to fight against demons. Coincidentally, he happened to have such a thing in his hand. Mark once went to Zanzibar when he was young. A ritual was held to summon the demon Popabava. His ritual was successful. They spent a passionate night, each with their respective demons. This feeling made him addicted, and he summoned the demon Popabawa 19 times in a row. But later, their relationship entered a period of coldness. For this reason, while Malcolm was asleep, Mark took a knife and killed it. And this is the Hammer of Zanzibar. Just when Malcolm was shocked, the demon had already possessed Jack. The scene suddenly became chaotic. At that moment, Mark used the divine hammer to smash Jack's head. This weapon would become Malcolm's tool to deal with the Zombie King. In this way, he sent the demon back to hell with the divine hammer. Gradually, everything returned to normal. But in front of him, everyone in the restaurant was dead. He was also arrested by the police. But later he was released without charges.
A white guy surrounded by dead Latinos. He said he survived the gang shooting and so they let him go.
Garcia finished his story, and he pleaded with Aiden and the others to let him go. But just then, the lights started flickering, and the god of death arrived. A tall figure in black opened the doors of the police station, and walked in as if he owned the place. The police officers tried to stop him, but they were just stared at by the god of death. He even picked up a gun and killed the people around him. Then, he shot himself, then it gently stretched out its hand. And the remaining people were also killed. It walked into the office. And the people sitting there were all under its control. Aiden saw the situation and urged Garcia to go and resolve it quickly. The female police officer went to find the gun and handed it to him. The police officers picked up their guns and began attacking the god of death. Under the baptism of bullets, the god of death revealed its true form. No one could resist its divine power. And they were all knocked down to the ground. At this moment, Garcia came out with the gun. And he fired the bullets to drive away the god of death. Afterward, he turned and ran away. Because everything was not over yet. Death would come back. However, on the way, he was stopped once again.
Because if I don't get out of here in the next 90 minutes, you're all going to die.
The movie ends here. In our lives, we may encounter many paranormal events. But sometimes we cannot deny that they may gradually appear in the near future. If you like my channel, please subscribe right now.